Hey guys, welcome back to another video of Star Trek Fleet Command. So we just wrapped up the original series arc, and I'm really curious what everyone thought. I thought it felt missing that part of that new ship, but I'm kind of glad we didn't get that new ship because I think most of us are very fearful. I'm not sure if fear is the best word, but we really don't look forward to similar game content with having to buy a ship, having to do content with the ship, and that's pretty much it. I really want to bring attention to Discovery. The USS Discovery, we should be having those refinery events round the clock. They should be going all the time. They tend to do one event, and you get enough tokens for 4 days of refining. And then we've run out of those tokens like 4 days ago, and we haven't received another event. So I think they really need to get on the ball with getting those Discovery Refinery tokens out to players, having a consistent event going. That's really going to help build up, the desire to be investing in that ship. The big thing about that ship is, of course, that Discovery crew. And then, of course, the porting around ability of the Discovery, and for the free-to-play players, for them to finally get badges. And so all of that stuff together, I think, is a really, really good ship and event, but there's no event to do that. There's no consistent event to do that. And I think that's the biggest problem. So hopefully Scopely does fix that in the next couple of weeks or so. But in this video, I really wanted to start my top 10 lists. So a lot of players will ask the consistent question: who is the best crew? Because in a lot of other games, you'll have like God tier, semi-God tier, and so on. And I've been really struggling to do that because it isn't really a specific officer, but a whole crew setup. And it definitely varies on your opponent. So in response to that, I wanted to start doing top 10 lists. And I'm hoping that these top 10 lists will act to serve as kind of that in-between of what people are used to in other games and what we do in Star Trek Fleet Command. So the first top 10 list of crew, I should say of officers, is the top 10 officers in the game chosen by the players. These are the players who know crew very well, and they all voted on their top 10. And it could be any officer, but it's the best officer for what they do. So the number one chosen unanimously by the players is actually two. And I'm pretty sure everyone knows where I'm going to go with this. And let me just pull him or her up. I think I'm skipping right over him. There we go. So that, of course, is Pike. Pike and Moreau. They are the number one officer setup that everyone is really going after. And the really nice thing is that it's Pike's captain ability added with Moreau's officer ability, because they're going to boost who's ever on the bridge. And everyone says, hands down, because you can actually use this setup in PvP. This isn't just hostile hunting. But this one right here has been chosen number one by the players. So if you do get Pike, just know that he is going to be your number one go-to definitely for hitting hostiles. But also you could do some armadas with him. You could do some PvP with him. You can do a lot of different things with him. I think he's a fully functional officer, as is Moreau. So the next officer voted unanimously by all players is Khan. Khan has been such a great addition to the crew list. Of course, he is your number one captain for base rating. And you put some augments with him, or you can put a variation of some other officers with him, and he is very much good to go. But he's huge in PvP. He's huge in armadas. So, and we've seen him recently been put in events for doing the PvE events. So if you get Khan, this is one reason you really want to be running your augment faction, and another reason you really want to be hitting your swarm to get those shards of Khan as fast as possible. I have been neglecting it because swarm was my biggest bane of existence for so long, and now it's getting a lot better. Now my Franklin is getting up to the point where I'm starting to not have to grind as hard for Swarm Sunday. But Khan was voted unanimously by all players. And of course, the third and last officer that was voted unanimously was Kirk. Kirk is one of those crew. And this is really, it's not really ship dependent because Kirk works on a lot of setups. So Kirk and Spock, definitely. Spock comes down further on the list, but Kirk was voted unanimously, especially if you have an Enterprise. If you have an Enterprise, you definitely need Kirk on your bridge. But a lot of players like him, and it's actually really easy to level him up via the faction packs in the faction store. And so that's what a lot of players do to start to get him higher and higher. I'm getting close to maxing him out. I only have about, 250 shards left to go for Kirk. So these are the top 3 officers voted unanimously by all players in the game. Now, the next officer was definitely very popular. He was not voted on by everyone, though, which is Spock. Spock is a really great addition, especially if you're starting out in the game and you're going up to about level 35. Spock works wonders. However, if you have an Enterprise, you don't need Spock because the actual Enterprise ability is what Spock does. So you can actually put him on another ship, but you have to kind of split the two, and you're going to have to kind of play around with Spock and possibly use a TOS Kirk as another morale officer. And Spock works really well on armadas, works really well on PvP for lower level players, and he's very versatile in that regard. The next, we have 2 officers. These were tied for 5th place. And the first one, this one I always go past, is Admiral Marcus. So we have the 3 piercers, King, Charvenek, and Marcus. And Marcus is by far the strongest of the 3. And a lot of people like him. However, what you really want Marcus to be at a minimum is tier 3 for his 400% of shield piercing. He will kill explorers like no one else. He works really well in that regard. I've even used him on armadas, and he's worked well on armadas. But he's really going to be useful in your PvP against those explorers. The next one is a very new addition, and she rose to popularity fairly quickly. And that, of course, is going to be Captain Philippa Georgiou. Not Emperor Georgiou, Captain Georgiou. Her burning ability, so at the beginning of each round, Georgiou has 50% chance of burning the opponent's ship for 2 rounds. This blew Nero away and really put him on the bottom burner. Her ability to burn at the beginning of each round for 2 rounds, everyone just went for it because there are a lot of officer abilities that you need to be burning the opponent every round. And of course, Nero's is at the end of the round. So the first round he hits, it doesn't burn, it burns at the next round. So a lot of people went for Giorgio really quickly, especially with the auger. The auger's main ship ability needs burning to be effective. And this is one where she remains queen of. And the next spot is an oldie, but he has not been unseated yet. So for seventh place is going to be, let's see, our Klingon captain, Corkin. So Gorkin's hull breach ability increases that critical damage that you do when you have hull breach active. He also increases the chance of dealing critical crits for the first 2 rounds. He's used in PvP a lot. He's used in armadas a lot. Some higher players might use him in hunting hostiles. However, really that PvP and that armada, Gorkin and Khan really go together in armadas. They do such a great job. However, with Gorkin's abilities, you actually apply it on the armada itself, so you really only need one Gorkin in your armada group for that. And the next one. This one is one of my favorites, one that I voted on myself. She has been amazing, is of course 5 of 10, Jayla herself. And her biggest, so this is the interesting thing that I tested and found out. So her captain ability is mitigation. So she mitigates the damage being done to you by 67%. The top mitigators in the game only do 71%. She's doing 67 at tier 1. And so she is a really good replacement for that mitigation. Of course, when you're hunting Borg probes, she's amazing because she is going to be collecting more resources from those destroyed Borg probes. So hands down, she is wonderful for that. The next one we have, I don't think it's going to be any kind of surprise here, but we have a minor, and hopefully that was not my row, T'Pring. T'Pring, when she is maxed out, she increases your protected cargo by 300%, and her gas ability to mine quicker is increased by 40%, and of course you can increase that with synergy groups. But even at low levels, T'Pring is amazing because I think increasing our protection limits is desired so much by everyone. And of course, the next place is going to go to Stone. Stone is one of those officers where we need a new one. We need another one of Stone. Because when we're raiding, and I think No One Shall did a video on raiding. Raiding has become... It's gotten to a point where you can raid. You can definitely raid and keep doing it. But for the amount of resources level 39 plus needs for buildings, and in order for you to get that, even if you have a maxed miner, it is so incredibly long that you're just hitting the same station. And the odds of that player coming on board. So we need another Stone crew member to come on board. We really need to increase the cargo size even more. That is one thing that is definitely important in the game coming up. And last but not least, keep in mind this vote was done before the TOS crew came out, was Saru. Saru received those votes because he was very big on decreasing the critical hit chance of the opponent ship by 10%. I think he's going to get overshadowed by the new TOS crew with lowering crit chance and crit attack. However, he is still being used. A lot of people are still actively using him. And I do want to give honorable mentions to 2 crew members who they received a lot of votes. They just didn't receive enough votes. Was Chen. Chen is the hostile queen. If you get Chen, max her out. there will be no issue with it. And you can max her out pretty early because she's a pretty common officer. However, her ability really is that energy absorber for her to decrease the damage done by energy weapons by 30%. Especially if you're running Pike and Moreau, they're going to boost that ability up even further. And then the other honorable mention is going to go to, if I can find her, she's always, there we go, is Yuki. A lot of people from all sorts of levels are using Yuki. Yuki is a really good base defender. Yuki is really good in PvP. Don't really see her being used in armadas or PvE, but her captain ability is decreasing the shield health of the opponent's ship by 10% each round. Can be boosted with a synergy group, but she is incredibly effective. I know a friend of mine who is a level 44 and uses her exclusively on his D4 along with Harrison and I want to say Kang. Don't quote me on that, but he just runs right through Enterprises with his D4 with her. So that was the top 10 list chosen by everyone. And I really want to give the shout outs to the people who voted in this poll. From Server 12, from Future, we have Light of Shadow, Shirok, and Talostastic. From DT, we have Bundy. From AOD, you have myself and Raphael. And from Server 32, we have Psy with Psionica, Turtles, and Polk. And going back to Server 12, from Sin, we have Mens Rea and Gooch have all voted and helped me make this video, and I do appreciate that. And I asked them specifically because these are players that are ranging anywhere between level 39 to 47 or 48. So these are all players that have actively used a lot of officers in PvP. And these are the officers that they are saying, these are the ones if you get them, you will have no issues tearing them up. You'll be using them for a very long time. So I'm hoping this video helps some people. The next top 10 list I'm going to do is a top tier 1 crew. These are going to be the crew members that come out right out the door and they're ready to go. You're ready to use them. They're going to be incredibly effective. They're not going to be like a Marcus. They're not going to be like, okay, you need to wait until you get them to tier 3. So hopefully that will help a lot of other people as well. But if you have any ideas of officers I missed or any top 10 lists you do want to see, definitely make the comment down below and check out more videos while you're on my page. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. Take care, and I will talk to everyone later.